Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Andrew Ma. I'm here to bring you a whole new podcast series featuring different leaders going through successful transformation and in an Asia perspective. There are so many noises around the world now about AI, and leaders these days really need to focus on the real signal, successful stories. How are the best practice able to drive successful AI transformation with the ROI? And here we are bringing leaders around Asia to talk about their own personal stories, how they overcome resistance, culture, and things like that. We believe this series will add value to your day-to-day leadership. Come and join us. Welcome to this podcast series.
Welcome to the 5% podcast. And since my conception of this podcast, you are always in my list. And now I'm able to come to Shanghai and able to shoot it in your home. And so it's really happy for you to join us.
Thank you.
So we go way back.
Mm-hmm.
We first met 31 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we were both 15 or 14. So we met when we were both working in Ottawa. We shared the same cubicle. And I think both of us were naive enough for saying that, oh, it's a great company. We'll work there and climb up the corporate ladder in the telecom industry. But both we have different career paths.
Yep.
I end up to be an executive coach, a transformation consultant in Asia, and you end up to be in Shanghai, but managing a global operation in a gaming industry. More than 4,000 people under you to come up with different gaming titles and assets. So was it a very different dream when you started your career in 1994?
1995. So,
For me, I'm 1995.
of course, I never thought I'd be in the game industry.
Mhm.
I never thought I would start my own company, sell it, and then stay in the company that I was sold it to. I think both of us in Nortel thought the career path was to move up the ranks in Nortel. We saw the directors, the vice presidents, potentially even the C-suite thought that this was a great path for us.
Mhm.
And I think we also got the accolades to say, yes, we have what it takes to make it. So all of that kind of culminates to that's the career path that I wanted.
Mm. But now we end up to be in different industry.
Yep.
And we also learned that if we decide to stay, we will saw the fall of that giant. We actually managed both get out of that company before
Before
it
it
went
collapsed.
bankrupt. And that was in the middle, Nortel was in the middle of the internet disruption. Um, it was the leader of ATM, frame relay, and all this kind
optical.
of stuff, but didn't survive the internet
Correct.
disruption.
Yeah.
And 2026, we are in another AI disruption, a big one, even bigger than
Bigger. I would
before.
say bigger,
It was
yes.
bigger. And what are the lessons we learned from the previous disruption and as an executive in the gaming
Yeah.
industry? How do you exercise your leadership to steer your company in the storm?
I think the experience from Nortel actually helped quite a lot in this disruption, to be honest. I learned a couple of things. One is humility is a trait that's lacking. I think in corporate world in general, the understanding that everybody is disruptible and to know that the young upcomers do have what it takes to really move you out of the way, and to be able to learn and to be able to say, this is where I'm weak in, and to be able to move fast because you have that humility. I think that's one thing that I borrowed from what happened at Nortel to what's going on right now, because the game industry fundamentally is also going through not only an AI disruption, but also structural changes of its own.
It seems to be a perfect storm.
There's
Multiple factors.
multiple factors that we're navigating through.
Right. So we argue over the past decades on
Yeah.
different issues on life, religion, philosophy, whatever. But one thing we have commons are we both believe in servant leadership. You
Yep.
talk about humanity, which is
And that's a term that you actually gave me.
thank you. One thing that we both believe in, and we try to practice and preach about that
Yeah.
in whatever we do. But to most people, actually, I was also while in here in Shanghai, I was doing a leadership program with some bankers,
Okay.
and we talk about servant leadership.
Yep.
But the first reaction was servant leadership seems weak,
Yes.
seems not strong enough to steer the boat
Yep.
out of the storm.
Yep.
Um, what? How do we actually practice humility when people may expect a strong leader know what is going on and this is the path to steer out the storm? How do we actually still stay humility and servant leadership in the storm?
So I think there's a couple of things I want to table when we're talking about servant leadership. One is the ability to make fast and decisive actions or decisions is part of servant leadership. So I think there's going to be a difference in terms of just because you're serving others doesn't mean that you can't make decisions. I think that's one thing. I think as a servant leader, you actually do need to make good decisions, make them fast, and mobilize your team to follow. I think that's one.
A servant, of course, I'm a big advocate, but I'm playing devil's advocate. So servant leadership need to solicit input from team members, and by the time you talk to 10 people, you miss the window to make decisive decision. If I play devil's advocate to talk about that.
But I don't think that is a characteristic of a servant leadership. If a servant leadership, I will counter the argument by saying if you are in touch with your team, these conversations can be had. If you have the empathy, you should know what they've been thinking and understanding. So these decisions can be made very fast. It's not when a crisis happens, then you start talking to your team, and then you wait a long time before you make a
So you
decision.
build the long-term
You-
trust. You
Correct.
have the empathy, understanding the strength and weakness and the perspective. And when you make the decision, you are making it for the best of the team and
Correct.
the best of the company. already.
Correct. Yeah. And I think the other reason why, especially in this complex world, in this AI disruption, in the game industry, when it's going through so much infrastructure changes, the complexity of all the factors that need to be considered needs a team to do it. It cannot fit into my head. Um, and I really need to understand where the best people are to have the best analysis and rely on them and giving them the tools and the space and the time to come up with their best recommendation or actions, and then you go forward. That is in turn is servant leadership. And one of the key parts of servant leadership, and I think you and I talked about this, is as a leader, it's about how do you make your team perform the best, better than you in many ways.
So you are saying your gaming industry have so much factors driving it,
Correct.
and no one single leader
No one
grabs all that in real time, and you need different expertise, different people on the pulse of different factors, and bring the best out of them to deal with the change. Fair enough. Tell me a bit of the complexity of the game because I'm very naive. I'm very ignorant about this industry. All I play is just mobile games here and there. Tell me some complexity and what the challenge that is in front of you.
So the gaming industry is fundamentally a creative industry that is technical. So you got a dichotomy going on.
Yeah.
We have an industry that's really passionate because it's creative, but you need a logical you need a STEM mind because fundamentally it's still a STEM product, right? Um, and in the past, all of these blockbusters is very. I think there's a lot of parallels between the movie industry, the music industry, and the gaming industry. It's just that gaming industry is that disruption is coming a little later on. Right now, that structural change, I've been talking at work about the 4 fundamental changes that's happening. So if you look at it is, can the game industry continue to make games at 250 million, 300 million,
That's a triple A game.
triple A game at
Mm.
billion,
Mhm.
and expect that the money will come back? Are there so much inefficiencies in that process that it needs to figure out, because we can't continue going on doing this? So that's the first structural change. The second structural change is the kids right now are playing Roblox, are playing Minecraft, are playing
Mini
mobile,
games. Yeah.
the smaller engagements.
Mhm.
And the old folks who, sorry about your audience if they're the old folks, who are used to playing 60, 100-hour games, no longer have the time, right? So the preference of for entertainment content is getting shrinking. Then how do you then produce products that suits that? And then, of course, in terms of a lot of the development has moved to Asia. So North America, Europe has dominated the game development, but that has moved to Asia. So that's a third component. And last is the growth that we saw in console, PC, Xbox is coming down, and it is what's making money is Roblox, WeChat mini games. So that is changing as well. So all of these 4 factors, and as you can see that, and now all that is intersected with AI
At the same
at
time,
the
all
same
coming
time.
up in the perfect
So
spot.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that complexity, I would say that it's really difficult to fit into one person and saying this is the direction we should go. Given all of these factors, we do need to rely on experts who knows quite a bit about each of the area, and then consolidate and then give them the space and the time to do their best and formulate a strategy around it.
And on top of it is the AI.
And then the
involved
AI
as well.
disruption, yeah.
I was in Boston attending my daughter's graduation.
Right.
My daughter is just graduated from a music school, Berkeley School of Music, and the speaker in the graduation ceremony, when he mentioned about AI,
AI.
that word, all the student boo
Yeah.
about that. So they are. I truly empathize with artists. They feel threatened, right?
Yeah, they do.
Gaming industry, they are also artists.
Yep.
Tell me, when AI now becoming more and more as a mainstream tool, how do you see your team react to that? Do they just use it as another tool, or is fundamentally changing some of their mindset and behavior?
So you and I both know Clayton.
Clayton Christensen?
Yes.
Yes.
So he talks about that curve with the early adopters and the laggers and so forth. You still remember that
Crossing the chasm,
Crossing the chasm.
disruptive innovation. Yeah.
So I think we have similar curves here, except I do think that the shape of the curve is a bit different for AI than probably some of the other technologies. I think you've got 2 extremes because it's such a powerful tool. You have more early adopters that are so excited about this. And then you have a very strong, I think that's kind of a not a perfect symmetric bell, but I think there's quite a lot of people on the other end that's very afraid of it.
Because they feel that what they have built, the skill set, become obsolete.
Yeah, correct. So, and then it's leading this bell curve of people through this storm while everything else is going on. So, I think that the reaction at the very end is not surprising, but it's about figuring out how to. I think it's inevitable that training is coming. Then
Or it has come already.
it has come out already. But how do we then work with the people, the laggers of this bell curve, so that they adapt, they're able to have the skills and know that they actually fundamentally do have the creative skills to be part of the production process if they learn AI as a tool.
So I just asked AI to collect
Which one?
some. I use some multiple of them, and now mainly using Claude and Perplexity. Uh, I don't know whether it's true. I haven't actually have a time to validate it a lot. But it says that the current survey, the GBC survey, 52% of gaming developer said generative AI is hurting the industry, and it's on the rise too compared to 2025 figures. And but executive like you are adopting it far more rapidly than the developer. Seems like the executive really see AI can save costs or whatever, and the working level seems to have different sentiment. And you also mentioned about servant leadership. How do we apply servant leadership in such a two layers of different sentiment?
So obviously, I think the executives and the artists are motivated by two different things. The executives, they've got P&L pressures and etc. And the artists are there to want to do their best work in their
And
career
save the job.
and
Yeah, and
protect
save
their
the job.
jobs. I I think it goes back to what we said. It's already come, right? Um, I do think that there's actually a lot of room for artists and for game developers in this space with AI. Making a game is really, really complex. And it's based on your experience, human experience. And if I look at the fundamental tools right now, they're just guessing the next word, the next pixel. So there isn't a lived experience in these AI models. There's a lived experience in the artists, in the developers, in the people that play thousands of games. So you do need that creative talent to bring that experience into game development. And if we teach the artists, the developers, and number one, make them believe that this is what they're bringing into the production process. AI is making their lives easier to be able to allow them to express what they've experienced, what they want to build better, and teaching them how to use it is a way of serving them in this storm.
So, Jason Huang, he in a graduation ceremony in Cambridge, he shared to the graduate students from Cambridge saying, "You are the cream of crop. You probably have the best IQ among all the your generations, but IQ doesn't really matter anymore. It's all about taste."
Yeah.
So I reinterpret taste as the special human creativity that AI cannot duplicate.
Yep.
Do you believe in that? Do you think with AI advancement, with enough GPU data and compute and power, that one day it can even develop taste, or taste is something that a human soul could only be the only being have that?
I'm getting into philosophy, aren't we?
We always go back to that fundamental first principle question, right?
Um, Let me try to answer it this way. I can't predict what the models will look like in the future. I don't think anybody can. The current models, I would agree with you that it doesn't have a soul, however we define it, even though we differ potentially.
Or you used the next, is this a prediction of the next pixel and the next word? It's all based on past data generated by human. It's just regurgitated.
But I think there's another layer in that. Yes, it is the regurgitation. You're because you're being trained with a vast amount of information. You're guessing the next word. You're guessing the next pixel. But it doesn't have a fundamental understanding of what it's doing. And I would contend that to be able to build the experiences, the taste that you're talking about, you need to have a fundamental understanding of reason, a neural reasoning to what is it that I'm actually doing. And I think that is going to be the differentiation between a human creator and an AI creator.
Tell me more about what is it doing. You mean context, the situation, the cultural nuance, or the target segment? What do they really want? the empathy, with the feeling, comes more about that that uniqueness that only human soul, allow me to use that term, that only through our eyes, our touching neurons can sense, but AI cannot do it.
It's so I'm gonna caveat my answer first with I'm an optimist. So when I look at this, I choose to look at the situation optimistically. And when I'm arguing for the human taste, the human soul and the human creativity, I'm gonna be coming at it from a very optimistic perspective.
Sure.
Because I believe in the human race,
Yeah.
right? With that caveat, what I like to believe and what I think it is in terms of I'm gonna potentially it's not the best example. Um, when, for example, a movie, it's not probably going to be fairly soon that AI or they have already created 2-hour movies.
It has. I just saw it on.
Yeah,
Somehow
yeah,
they have created that. Yeah.
yeah. So I think when an AI creates a movie, it is a path that it takes, which is this is the next best frame for it. This is next best line for it. But that journey is always about I'm training to the next best thing,
Yeah.
right? And then when you end up is that journey of I need to end in 2 hours, and this is the frame that I need to get to, and this is the journey that I'm taking to the next best thing that's going to get me into this 2-hour content that I'm
Yeah.
going to create.
Mhm.
When a human does it, it is about an engagement with the audience. It is I'm gonna take you. I'm gonna hold your hand on this journey. The next best frame may not be the next best frame,
Mhm.
but I know that I need to take you onto a journey because that journey in itself is potentially more important than the end product of what you're trying to show the audience. And it's that ability to engage
Mhm.
and that then this is where taste comes in and creativity comes in,
Mhm.
um, is going to be something that's going to be unique to the human race. Does that make sense?
So I'm trying to paraphrase what I heard.
Mm.
Is that the whole you as using the movie, only human, as you argue, can bring the audience with a unique experience, the whole journey.
Mm.
And the whole journey may not necessarily need to have the next best frame or next best word, but it's the overarching story that you want to engage with the audience. That part is unique to human, and AI could not
Not
duplicate
the
that.
current models of the
Not the
AI,
current model.
right?
But Li Fei have the world model and the
But
other
but
model. Yeah.
Li Feifei's world model doesn't have physics, which means that again it's a stable diffusion base, right? So it's going to be guessing the
Yeah.
next poly.
Unless a very disruptive another AI model, we are safe. And you need, as a servant leader, you are ensuring to your team, yes, AI can do a lot of low level next frame prediction work. But as long as you are ahead of the curve, you really focus on your core skill to engage with your audience, give them a unique experience, your job will be safe. Is that your approach?
Well, the old adage of your job is not replaced by AI, your job is replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI. I think I have a better description. For example, if you're going from A to B, AI is going to give you the most efficient and the best way to go from A to B,
The shortest path.
the shortest path or the
the most
most
cost-effective path.
cost-effective, whatever path. And then that's going to fit for a lot of experiences. And then I think as more of these experiences come out, you're probably going to get a bit sick and tired of them.
Yep.
When a human takes you from an A to B, the human can detect that, oh, today you're feeling a little nostalgic, so I'm going to take you through the beach, and you can experience that with me, and I can share some stories with you. And then, oh no, now you're feeling better about yourself. I'm going to go and take you through a crowded mall because you can hear the kids sing, and and people are playing piano on the street, and that's going to bring you up more, and then maybe eventually you get to your destination. That experience an AI cannot do, not the current models, but the current models can do get you from point A to point B very efficiently.
So philosophical, you are arguing that only humans have that free will that detect certain points that AI miss, and you decide to exercise your free will to bring a creative, unique experience to your audience. Is that something you just said?
I am not going to on camera. This
It is
it's
on camera.
it is on camera, but it's a debate that we've been having for a long time, and he's trying to trick me into saying
I'm not
something.
tricking you. I'm just paraphrasing you.
But I think that's for another podcast, whether we have free will to do that.
That's another
That's
podcast.
another podcast.
Another interesting point when we were preparing this podcast is the East and West. You
Yep.
bring about one point in your disruption factor in gaming is a lot of the gaming developers are moving to Asia.
Correct.
And in Asia, many statistics showing that China we are in, they welcome AI, they welcome that much more than the West.
Yep.
And we talk about in your global team that seems to be also having that
Similar characteristics.
similar. Talk about that because we all have we were born in the East. We moved to the West for number of years, and then we decide to move back. So both of us are East and West fluid to some extent, right? But a lot more other people are very orientated either East or West culture. How do you see the future where the AI disruption, if the people are resisting the AI in the West more, does it give us a advantage in embracing AI, or we are too naive when we embrace in the East embrace AI too much and AI will eat us first?
I think fundamentally AI is a different strategy in the East versus the West. The chase for AGI in the West is not is goal here. Here when I say in China particularly, it's the chase of the the permeation of AI as wide as vast as possible. So we're down to the smallest toothbrush would have AI in it, right?
As long as we put it in, it's lower cost or it actually
Yeah.
offer practical value, then we put all AI in there. And the West
See,
actually
it's
somehow is more philosophical, more
yeah,
idealistic about that.
trying
to some
to
extent.
search for AGI. I think that's the fundamental difference. And when you have that, I think it's sort of a feedback loop because there's more adoption of AI, there's more acceptance of AI, then you allow AI into your toothbrush. Whereas I think the West is going to be more resistant to that. But I think as more data is collected in the East, the more adaptable it's going to be.
But is adoptable good or bad? Fast adoption, I mean.
So I think there is also a difference in terms of we're getting a little into politics, but I do think it's relevant. I think if you look at the AI industry in the West, the power is really concentrated in a very few. And I think the government in China does have the ability to say, look, I'm not going to let the AI power be concentrating in few. This is why you have a lot more open source models. This is why you don't have names attached to models. You just have DeepSeek and QN and so forth. So I think that's another difference. And then then does that change the East and West equation? And there's something else a little philosophical. I don't know if you agree with it. It is true that the East is going to be, as a whole population, is more subservient, but it's also more collective as a unit. So I grew up with a story, and I show it to my kids, where the monk goes to a village, ask everybody to throw in all the food that they have, and made a big soup. um, and invited everybody to eat it, and that's how they were able to keep that village alive because he was in the border of starvation.
Yeah.
I think that philosophy is a lot more prevalent in the East. Therefore, the acceptance of, especially in art, where I collect all the art into a model and I create a model so everybody can use it, is probably more adapted in the East. Whereas the much more individualistic is I need my IP protected and this is my art and you can't copy it and you can't use it. I'm not passing judgment on it, but what I'm saying is this is, I think, another factor that's introduced into adaptability. So it's collective versus individualistic. It is a government not allowing a few people to come to only a few people to control AI, and the fact that in terms of the how it's permeated through the AGI versus more adoption of AI. So I think those factors why we're seeing how it's different.
I'm going to shift gear a little bit.
Okay.
We wear different hats. We are in the marketplace, workplace, but we are also parents.
Yes.
You have two kids. I have one. Mine just graduated. You still have your kids growing up in high school and college. As a parent, we all want our children to have a bright future, right?
Yep.
But with so much uncertainty, with so much change, what are your career advice to your children so that they could be themselves, but at the same time having enough skills and mindset to thrive in the AI era?
So my eldest is actually going to entertainment design.
Seems to have some influence
Yes.
on her.
So these are the few points or few bullet points that I try to give. One is really try to use AI as a tool, because if you see it as a hindrance to your career, you will be left behind. Even in terms of how my high schooler studies, how do you use AI to be able to do your best, right? Because it's a tool, it helps. I also think that solving problems is, and it goes back to the models, right? The models is still the next best word. As long as that model stays that way, then in terms of looking at our kids is how do you solve problems? And when you're solving problems, then you break it down into potentially individual tasks or individual problems. And then that's when you bring the AI in to say, how do I solve these problems? And to be able to connect all of them. And I don't think, maybe it will someday, but I think it'll be a long time for AI to solve the complex problems of the different layers that's required for a human to do so. Just like when you're making a game, it's going to replace modeling, it's going to replace asset creation, but it's not going to replace the producer or the game designer to be able to knit all of that together. I think that's a skill set to be able to have a much more systematic view.
So it's like system thinking, the balcony view to look at things in a much strategic view. That's something that you think your kids need to develop.
Yeah.
And that will bring the uniqueness and the competitive advantage over AI and over other people.
Oh, but yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
How about we both have the privilege to see the world,
Yeah.
live in the East and West, different country. Having a global mindset, do you think is
Yes,
also
absolutely.
important as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have that privilege, and I think staying curious, open, positive. I think those are all the characteristics that we really need more so than even during our days.
Well, our days, the world was becoming flat, and we were thinking this. We are now in the global citizen, the flat world, but now the world is much more polarized than before, and seems like the global leaders, some of them want to go back to more self-preservation, self-interest.
Yeah.
I'm just care for my own country people. I don't care about the rest of the people. I don't think either of you and me want our kids to be having that type of mindset, right? And but that seems to be the trend. How do we help them to counter that?
Again, I'm going to caveat the fact that I am an optimist. So I think a lot of ailments that you see is probably a magnifying glass from I'm going to say Western media, because I think there's a lot of places that are getting much better and we don't hear about it. We don't
So we
see.
blame it to the media.
I think there's a lot of blame can be put on the media. Even when we were growing up, I mean, the Cold War was on and there was a lot of crisis going on, but
Yeah.
I think the media wasn't as prevalent. Didn't blow things
Hyper-personalized
hyper,
to
yeah,
magnify your bias, right?
exactly.
Mhm.
So I think that's something to keep in mind
Mhm.
as we try to forge a path or direct a path for the kids is overall, the human race is in the best place it's ever been.
You mean despite all the war going on?
Despite all the stuff that's going on,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at it, there's some declines, but overall, I think this world is the race is the best it's ever been. So if you have that frame of mind, and the intent obviously is for it to get better, then a global mindset to be able to not be trapped in this media hyper bubble,
Yeah.
but to be able to travel the world, to see it, to understand. There's going to be opportunities everywhere.
So your advice is yes, we should still need to consume media,
Yeah.
but consume it with a lens that you need to have your own individual critical thinking to see your view, which is not necessarily the mainstream media
Yeah,
portray.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, especially I think it's when you have that different lens. I mean, both of our kids have lived in Asia. They're probably going to be educated in the West. They should travel to Africa because there's a lot of African countries that are doing really well. See how they're coming up. See what are the opportunities. South America, because the world shouldn't just be the media hype bubble that usually.
Yeah. It seems that most of the people see the world through the cell phone.
Yeah.
And that cell phone is basically preoccupied by AI algorithm
Yep.
that shape you to look at the world in that way.
Yep.
And once you have that view, then it will just amplify your view to the extreme.
Exactly.
So that's advice to your kids. So both develop a global perspective and also trying to uh, not only see the world, but also have a systematic view to look at problem, break it down into smaller problem, and use the best tool to solve parts. But you end up to put all the parts together and have a big problem solver. That seems to be the two advice that you gave to your
Stay
kids.
curious.
Stay curious. Yeah. Mhm.
Stay curious and stay open.
Is that the same advice? Going back to the marketplace, same advice to your team members as well. I'm sure there are many mentees under you. We were both privileged to have some good mentors at least in our early career.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have many mentees. Did the same advice to your kids apply to
I think
them as
so.
well?
I think so. I mean, if I were to make it more practical, because we have a lot of people who do want to get into the game industry, I've asked them, how do you differentiate yourself? What if you come to me and you say, look, I've used AI to publish or to write 3 games. I put them onto, because now you can, these opportunities do exist. You can put them onto platforms or you can publish them. And this is what I've learned. And if I had more resources, this is what I would do to improve it. That's your interview. It would go much further than if you said, this is the school I went to, this is my portfolio, this is my grades, this is my work experience. But if you came to me and said, These are the 3 games. There are 3 different games. I've done them using AI, and this is what I did myself. I published them. This is what I've learned. This is how I can make it better. That interview would by far be better than a conventional interview. So everything that you do, you look for that differentiation, especially in this era when you have so many tools and so many opportunities to be different.
So it comes down almost to the end of our lovely discussion. One last piece of advice. We talked about so much already.
Yeah.
For a new person, just a newly recruit person into your organization, and you happen to be executive to welcome them,
Right.
what would be one piece of advice out of the what you mentioned already? Stay curious, system
that.
thinker already. What is one additional piece of advice to them when they first start their career? When we first started our career in Ottawa, you wish somebody more senior with a little bit of gray hair. Well, I have more than you. That you want to impart in that little Ashley.
So a younger version,
Yeah.
like when we started, when I walked into your cubicle.
Yeah.
I think I was fortunate to be able to do all the things that I did that I didn't think was possible. And one of the reasons I did that was some of it is ignorance, to be really honest, because
Ignorance can be a bliss.
ignorance it can be a bliss because I dived into doing a startup when I didn't know anything about the industry and so forth. Probably
If you know too much, you won't go,
exactly. And maybe that is a good advice, that sometimes you're just gonna have to dive into it, give it your best shot, because if you plan it, you'll miss opportunities. And sometimes ignorance is good because it does lead you to places where you want to be and you never thought that you would get there. Very much like in a human experience rather than AI, which would probably plan our careers to stay in Nortel. Think about that.
Well, if we have ChatGPT 32 years ago,
Yeah.
if we ask, okay, how should I
Exactly.
prepare my career? Hey, you're already working in the best high-tech company in Canada, if not the world. Just stay there and continue. But seems to be I would imagine AI would give us that advice.
Exactly.
They never know that it won't survive.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
internet's a disruption,
To make sure that you know about TCP/IP and ICN at the time, right? Just
Yeah.
make sure that you have the technical knowledge, and then you go to and get your MBA, and
Yeah.
and that's because that's the best path.
I think the AI, if our world is still in a linear trajectory, I think AI could be replacing us.
Yeah.
But since we are in a double, triple, exponential, chaotic world, AI can at best just help you to plan for your next word, next token, but you still need to have your bigger picture. What is my uniqueness, and how do I have the curiosity and boldness to jump into the no? I think that's what we talk about. So
Yeah.
and free will and
Oh no,
all
we're
this
gonna
stuff.
do.
Let's have another episode when we have
Yes, it's gonna be on
another.
free
It's not
will.
about. It's not called 5% podcast. It's the naive podcast. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Andrew.
Really wonderful having you to be my
My
first lady guest. in
my absolute pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching and listening to this podcast. If you want to learn from more leaders like what we just interviewed, please stay in touch, contact us, and subscribe to our podcast. See you next time.